Broadcasting live from the glorious eastern coast of Australia to the darkest corner of your greatest fears. Prepare yourself for terrifying tales of Yowies, UFOs, paranormal anomalies, and much more. Nothing is impossible, and nothing is off limits. Welcome to Believe the Night Shift with your host, Cade Moyer.
Welcome back to another episode of The Night Shift, Australia's only live talkback podcast that explores the mysteries of the universe and everything in between. Tonight, we are broadcasting live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're new, I'm your host, Cade Moyer, and today we are talking about some groundbreaking news. The world stood captivated on June 5th, 2023, as the veil of secrecy surrounding unidentified flying objects was partially lifted. The disclosure came in the form of shocking claims made by an insider known as David Grush, shedding light on a covert UFO retrieval program operated by the United States federal government. As the mainstream media cautiously analyzes the credibility and ramifications of these revelations, humanity finds itself on the precipice of a paradigm-shifting understanding of our place in the universe. Prominent journalists Leslie Kean and the New York Times reporter Ralph Blumenthal collaborated to bring Grush's claims to the public's attention through the independent news website The Debrief. According to their report, Grush had presented Congress with hours of reported classified information transcribed into hundreds of pages, revealing the existence of a highly classified materials recovery program focused on UFO crashes and landings. Crucially, several members of the recovery program independently verified Grush's claims when interviewed by the Inspector General's office. However, mainstream news outlets, including the New York Times, Politico, the Washington Post, all opted to withhold publication until further verification was obtained. This is mind-blowing stuff, and I cannot get over it. This is the biggest news story of our lifetime. And I know tonight's broadcast is a little bit different, but I really want to get through this because I've kind of worked on this over the last week or so. And I really want to get this everything out in the public so we can have a bit of a discussion about it. So essentially, let's go on to the insider testimonies. In a bid to delve deeper into the story, Leslie Kean conducted interviews with key individuals, shedding further light on the astonishing claims made by Grush. One of these interviews involved Carl Nell, a retired Army colonel who had served in the UFO task force. Nell not only described Grush as beyond reproach, but also corroborated his assertion that the United States was engaged in an ongoing global competition to identify UFO crashes and the retrieval of associated materials for the purpose of exploitation and reverse engineering. Another individual, who is only known as Jonathan Gray, identified as a current U.S. intelligence officer at the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. That's called NACIC, NACIC. It's one of those funny agencies that I've never heard of, but there is tons of them when it comes to this crazy world. He affirmed that the non-human intelligence phenomenon was indeed real. If you have not seen this interview that Ross Coulthart did with David Grush on a very, very new news channel called News Nation, definitely go and check it out, because this is some of the most mind-blowing testimony to come forth as a direct response to the US whistleblower clause that has just been passed through. Now, this is the first person to really come forward. There is so many other people who are willing to come forward and share their stories, share their testimonies about what is going on. We are really living in a genuine age of disclosure. So let's go and continue the conversation with Ross Coulthart. By the way, Ross has been on the podcast before. We talked about his new career focus on UFOs and finding the truth about it. And Ross is one step closer with this interview that he's done with David Grush. So let's go into what we've got here. So Australian investigative journalist Ross Coulthart took the baton from Kean and conducted a groundbreaking interview with Grush, which aired on News Nation. The Department of Defense pre-authorized the release of this interview, explicitly stating that their allowance did not imply the verification of Grush's claims. During the interview, Grush made extraordinary assertions, including the existence of a highly secretive UFO retrieval program made by the US federal government. Grush claimed that this program possessed multiple spacecraft of non-human origin, as well as the bodies of deceased pilots. Coulthart, after thoroughly assessing Grush's credibility, lent his support by endorsing the claims as true. That is a big thing to do, especially when you are such a prestigious journalist like Ross is. He has broken some of the biggest news cases in Australia. And in my personal opinion, he has just broken the biggest interview in history. This is proof that we are not alone in the universe. This is something that should be absolutely breaking the general public's paradigm. But this is not happening. And this is madness. I do not understand what is going on. I feel like the mainstream media has barely touched this story. And even when they do, it is held at such arm's length, they are not willing to dive in deep on it. It is very, very rare to find news outlets that are one brave enough to take this on, and two who won't put it in the X-Files woo side of news stories. This is huge. This is the biggest news story to ever happen, and I just do not understand how it is just not the biggest front page news of every newspaper for every day of the week. I really do hope that more whistleblowers come forward to talk about this because it is genuinely groundbreaking. I'm going to continue on here. Grush's revelations during the interview were nothing short of mind-boggling. He stated the UFO phenomenon may be intricately connected to extra dimensions, a theory that has long fascinated scientists and theorists alike. Grush also unveiled a stunning claim about Pope Pius, stating that the pontiff had secretly communicated the existence of crashed UFO in Italy in 1933 to the United States. Moreover, Grush asserted that he had spoken with intelligence officials who had been briefed on the existence of colossal sized craft, akin to the size of a football field. The US government allegedly transferred some of these vehicles to a cleared defense contractor for unethical analyst purposes, as Grush deemed the arrangement completely unethical. And that is completely unethical. And that's something that we'll touch on shortly. Additionally, Grush revealed evidence of an aggressive or malevolent activities carried out by UFOs and hinted at the occurrence of white collar crimes committed to conceal UFO programs, including instances where individuals were purportedly killed to protect these classified operations. Wow. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff. Among Grush's claims were reference to intriguing historical UFO cases. He divulged details about the oldest UFO case he had been briefed on, involving a spacecraft that was reportedly crashed in Magenta, Italy in 1933. Fascinatingly, the craft had been in the possession of Benito Mussolini's government until the United States Office of Strategic Services secured it between 1944 and 1945. Grush also alleged that the existence of secret US programs dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of these advanced craft through the study of utilization of materials of exotic origin. The emergence of Grush's claims has unleashed a wave of renewed interest in the UFO phenomenon, forcing humanity to confront the possibility of extraterrestrial life and its impacts on our understanding of the cosmos. While the mainstream media exercises caution in its verification process, the implications of these disclosures cannot be overstated. As we wait for further developments, scientific investigations, and the release of additional evidence, the world teeters on the brink of a profound paradigm shift that may forever alter our perception of reality and our place in the universe. Now, I know I don't usually start our shows like that at all. and I rarely put together anything like this for the show. But over the last couple of weeks, my mind has been absolutely blown about the ongoings and the limited media coverage to this. It is absolutely disgusting. It has really been left to the world of kind of like UFO Twitter, and if that's a cesspool that you want to jump down, that's totally fine. But there is a lot of podcasts out there who are kind of covering this thing. The Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, they've covered it. It was mostly, I felt like that episode was like we kind of spoke about this first, so that's okay. We knew the guy. We hang out with him. And that was a little bit about it. But they do go to say, they have been in talks with this gentleman, David Grush, for a while, for over a year, to kind of help him come forward, I guess, was the impression that I got from that. But it's really podcasts like the Need to Know podcast with Ross Coulter and Bryce Zabel that have done really the hard work on this, because they have done so much work with David Grush. Obviously, Ross Coulter was the person who landed the interview, the on-camera interview with David Grush. Leslie Keane and David Blumenthal, they broke the story over on the debrief, and it seemed like Ross was happy to let them to take that limelight, because obviously this is no one's story. This is the world's story to really know. But guys, I'm really, really interested to see what you guys think of this. I am going to open the phone lines, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So give me a minute here, and we will get the lines open. So we do have the lines going. If you have any thoughts that you want to share about the whistleblower, how the media is covering it, please call in, because I would love to get someone else's opinion on it, because surely I can't be the only one whose mind has been completely blown by this. One of the biggest things that I heard when it came to the blown the story getting blown out was some of these aliens or non-human intelligences, which I feel like is a really, really safe way to say aliens, have killed people, and there seems to be a huge amount of shock about that. I don't understand that, because I feel like the concepts of good and bad is a universal thing. Not everything in the universe is going to be good, and not everything in the universe is going to be bad. And I don't think there is a definitive thing that you can be like one or the other. I think there's this fine line. We've got a call coming in. Caller, what's your name and where you from? Oh, hang on. Have we got him on the line? Hello. Oh, looks like we got a... Hopefully that caller calls back in. Here we go.
Perfect.
Hey, caller, what's your name and where you from?
Hey, Kay, can you hear me?
I can.
It's Yowie Dan.
Yowie Dan, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. I just rang up a second ago and it didn't go through, so I thought I'd ring you back.
Mate, thank you for calling back. It's great to hear from you.
Yeah, we're out up in the Blue Mountains and we're doing some Yowie researching, and we've seen a few weird things in the sky, but unfortunately for us, it was just a Starlink.
Oh, right. It's surprising how many people get to see the I guess the trail of Starlinks. I've never seen it in person before, and that's only because where I live in Australia, we don't get to see that trajectory. But a lot of people have seen it down south, and it always fills me with a little bit of envy when that happens.
Yeah, no, it was really good to see, and I'm just watching your podcast now. I'm lucky to get reception. We're on top of a ridge. It's a bit windy, so we're waiting for the wind to die down before we get the parabolic out and have a listen.
Yeah, awesome. So you're out on an active investigation tonight. You're looking for Yowies, mate?
Yeah, right now we're sitting around a campfire. And I can tell you now, I've just had to put my socks on because it's got a bit cold because I've just been wearing thongs. And it's a little bit windy. It's getting a bit cold, but no, it's a good night for it. And hopefully we can get some something on the thermal or on the parabolic. And I've got a sound recorder that's about a couple of 100 metres down a ridge to pick up anything that's moving around that area. But we're way away from civilization where we are. It's taken us a few hours to hike in here.
Oh, mate, well, that's good stuff. I am shocked with Australia's mobile coverage that you've actually got reception there to, one, watch the live stream, and two, to actually be able to call in.
Mate, I'm actually getting 4G, so it's pretty good. So not most of the times when we're camping, we're down in the valleys, you can't, but because we're on top of the ridge, you can get some pretty good coverage in some areas, and this is one. We're really lucky today. So I'm going to let you go so people can talk about the UFOs, and I'll keep watching.
No worries, mate. Thank you for calling in, and good luck tonight there, mate.
Thanks, Cade. See ya.
Too easy, mate. I thought we were going to have some gremlins in the phones again. We had that happen on one of our previous call-in shows where we were asking aliens to call in, and only 2 got through. Apparently, people were trying, but that just did not happen. But essentially, tonight the conversation is around the UFO whistleblower David Grush. Have you all seen the interview? If you're watching this live, please put it into the chat box there below, and let me know if you've seen it. What were your thoughts on it? It is extremely mind-boggling, some of the claims that he's made. A lot of people seem to think that, hey, he may be a disinformation agent, and you know what, that could be true. You know, I'm absolutely no expert on body language. I know there's a lot of body language expert YouTube channels out there who have claimed that he may be a little bit iffy about the way he says things, but I think it's a little bit of a like, you would almost have to give the guy a pass for being a little bit nervous when you're coming forward to talk about the biggest secret in modern history, in the history of humans, essentially. It is ridiculous. So I think you got to kind of give him a little bit of leeway to potentially act in a little bit jittery, because you would, you know, I act jittery when I'm even just doing a little basic podcast like this. So imagine doing something where the whole world was going to see you, where the whole world was waiting for this. Takes a lot of guts. My hat goes off to him, and I'm really excited to see what the future is going to hold. Do you think, to the people watching this, do you think we're going to get disclosure by the end of the year? I think it's possibly on the cards. I'm pretty open to it. Open to it now. You know, you can, depending on what your point of view is, you can essentially say that this was disclosure. What further proof do you need? Some of the real talking points from this interview was they believe that they are potentially interdimensional, coming from the 4th dimension, which the 4th dimension is technically known as time. But David Grush did come out and say that they come from a 4th dimension in a physical sense, which is rather interesting. I'm absolutely no multi-dimensional expert by any means, but to think that time has a physical realm to it is pretty incredible. People are saying Dr. Stephen Greer talks about the whistleblower and the aliens and the ships. Stephen Greer is a rather interesting fellow. I've seen interactions between David Grush and Stephen Greer where David Grush is saying, hey, can you please stop mentioning me? Like there is absolutely zero connection between us. And you know what, like Stephen Greer, it's really not out of the realm for him to how do I say this? Allegedly be known to ride on the coattails of those in the scene at the moment. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, you know, like Stephen Greer, like he take him for, I think with him, everything you have to take it with a grain of salt, because he has said some things that I don't think are believable. He's said things like he's been offered $2 billion to walk away from the UFO world, which, I mean, in all honesty, why wouldn't you take that? Just go and do what you want. He could pay other people to do it then. But yeah, it is, I don't know, like Stephen Greer, as much as you may hate him, as much as you may love him, he actually has done a lot of like public awareness for the world of UFOs, for the world of disclosure. You know, he may be on a completely different planet, no pun intended, when it comes to some of the things that he may say and believe, and thinks like the whole universe is in harmony because every alien's like a nice thing. I've never ever believe that, because I just like to think of the world is, well, the universe is just full of wild animals, and it's kind of the same way people think Yowies are super friendly creatures and things like that. Like I just think that's madness. You can't say stuff like that because you just don't know. Like you just don't know. It's all speculation, and speculating is totally fine and absolutely like everyone's entitled to it. But you can't really go around thinking it's fact. You can happily say, I believe that aliens would be nice, but to say that they definitely are is always a, I don't know. You just can't rest on that. Some people in here are saying that this is, you know, the first stage of Project Bluebeam. And this is something that, again, I feel like this is another Stephen Greer thing. I'm pretty sure I've seen this on some of his docos, because I tell you what, I watch every single one. He actually does make a really, really good doco. I'm not going to lie. They're shot really well. I always play the Stephen Greer bingo card of, you know, is he going to cry? Is the revelation coming soon? And you know, by the end of it, I'm always yelling out bingo because I've guessed it all. We have a call coming in. Caller, what's your name and where you from?
Oh, hi, Kate. It's Shane. Just let me turn down my computer.
G'day, Shane.
Yeah. So you were talking about Project Bluebeam, which I put in the comments.
Yep.
Should I explain to people what it is?
Mate, absolutely.
Quickly? All right. So Project Bluebeam, you can look it up on Wikipedia if you want. I forget the name of the guy, but someone came forward like a whistleblower, and he said, maybe 5 or 10 years ago now, I forget, he said that there was a plot to make a fake UFO invasion by using lights and explosions and even blowing up parts of towns in the USA,
yep,
to scare people into thinking it was an alien invasion, and to say, hey, come on over to this safe city, which is very similar to the 15-minute cities that we're hearing about now. And we'll look after you and we'll control you and you can live there and everything will be fine. It's just a plot. This guy was saying it's a plot to take over and control the people in a lockdown sort of situation way. Yeah, that's the short of it anyhow.
Yeah.
Using a fake alien invasion.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm not really one for conspiracy theories, but I tell you what, you could almost give some credence to this one.
Yeah, I know. Well, I agree with a few conspiracy theories, including, well, I don't want to talk about, but I'll just say one thing, that the vaccine had poisons in it. That's all I'm going to talk about that. And now you're experiencing the silence. Doctors were silenced about that, although doctors spoke out saying it was poisonous. And now you're experiencing the same silence, media silence with this UFO thing that they're talking about now, that you're talking about tonight. There's a few others, obviously, but like Project Bluebeam, it's all been hushed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean,
I'm gonna take a wild stab and say you've probably been all over one of the most recent episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast there, Shane.
I'm an occasional watcher of Joe Rogan. I don't watch everything of his. So I don't know what it's about. Which one are you talking about?
Mate, you go listen to episode 1999. I think you're going to have a field day with that.
Okay, I'll write it down, and I'll get back to you. 1999, was it?
Yep.
1999?
That's it.
Okay, all right. All right, I'll go watch that. But what I was going to say tonight is, imagine if this UFO thing is true. See, this is something that I posted on my page years ago on Facebook, actually, when people were saying, "Oh, the US has captured UFOs and they're hidden in S4, which is the back of Area 51."
Yep.
And Bob Lazar was saying it too, but I've heard it a few other times. And captured aliens as well. Now, imagine if that technology did get given to us by the aliens. There was an agreement. This is some of the stories I've heard, and we got some of those technologies, such as compact CDs. We back engineered and we adapted it to human technology. So, well, we'll start with one. Bell Labs worked on the computer chip and apparently invented it. What if they were given that technology and they adapted it to our slices of silicon for Earth? The transistor. Yeah. And made a transistor, because before that, all we had was vacuum tubes. And then all of a sudden we got CPUs. I've also heard on crashed UFOs there were printed circuit boards, PCBs. Now, that's on nearly all electronic devices now. That apparently came from UFOs. What else? Optical, like light.
Yeah, like lasers. I heard lasers came from them.
Well, lasers, yes, but I can't think of the damn name of it. The fiber optics, fiber optics. Yeah, to transfer information, across the country underground in little glass threads.
Yeah. Well, you just really have to look at how technology has changed just in the last 20 years. It is mind blowing to think of where we've gone. I guess computing wise, just in that short time. Then you go back 50 years, and it is light years away.
Yeah. Now that's just the small stuff. Imagine this: you got a car and you put a UFO engine in it. Now you've got a car that floats. You don't need tires anymore. You don't lose grip. You don't slide off the road. If you're about to have a smash in a normal car, you hit the brakes and you slide until you hit the car ahead and, you have a smash. In a UFO, you hit the brakes, you slow down, you've got grip the whole time you're slowing down and stopping. You'd have to have some sort of computer to suddenly slow you down, but not not an immediate stop that you'd get thrown against the wall of the car. You could have cars that take off from your driveway, fly through the sky until you get to a place. There's no more need for roads except for push bikes and pedestrians. That's going to free up a lot of room. You're not going to run into kangaroos on the road or anything because you're up in the air out of the way. This all could be controlled by computers to keep us, in our own lanes, so to speak. Stuff like that. Things like ambulances, for instance, you could be picked up very fast, basically the blink of an eye. You call an ambulance, they arrive straight away.
Yeah.
Something like
definitely. That really does go hand in hand with what David Grush has kind of said, like how humanity could absolutely benefit from just having a slither of this technology, because the world, to be honest, it probably doesn't need to know all of it. But if there was something that was going to have a genuine positive effect on how the human race could operate or help each other, like it would genuinely be criminal to keep that from the world.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at what we've got in the way of levitation at the moment. We've got maglev trains. They're struggling to get them, a few centimetres off the ground and to go, say, 500 kilometres an hour. Imagine if we had UFO technology trains instead of that. We're struggling with the maglev, and they're saying it's such a great advance compared to a normal train. You know what I mean? Things like helicopters. Now, helicopters or hovering jets, things like that, they take off from a runway. They risk blowing up dust and going into the engine of the jet, wrecking the jet and also wrecking the runway from the blast of the jet. A UFO doesn't do that. They just go straight up and they're silent, and not to mention the lack of pollution, I mean, they'd be a massive thing straight away. And if we could hook them up to power generators, like power stations, instead of having, burning coal or nuclear or any of that, it'd be just such a huge advance.
Oh, absolutely. And I really do hope that we get a little bit of a peek under the hood to see what is possible, because the thing is, if these craft are interdimensional, they obviously are able to break the barrier between dimensions, and who knows what that holds for mankind.
Yeah, well, I mean, even close to light speed, but imagine faster than light. We could go, across the galaxy and interdimensional. I mean, not many people can get their head around multiverses and things like that. But I mean, what's out there when you go into those places,
Yeah, absolutely. It does boggle the mind, but I agree with like everything you're saying there, Shane. I think it's it's going to be a really, really interesting time over the 5-10 years, I believe.
Oh yeah. And then look at medical advances, scientific advances. I mean, we've already talked about power generation and that, but the reported alien abductees and how they were operated on, and even things like what they call tracking chips. There might be chips that monitor your health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing stuff.
Absolutely.
We don't even know half. Yeah, I mean, we can't even put it into words. Some of the things that the abductees had tried to say.
Oh, definitely. And if let's think a little bit crazy here. If the human mind can only understand the 3D realm and the 2D realm and a 1D a one-dimensional realm. When we go, hypothetically, if we were able to travel into a fourth dimension, the human mind wouldn't know how to interpret what it's seeing, because our brains can't fathom, like, it just genuinely, we are not programmed to see beyond our third dimension. So who knows what if alien abductions are real and they go into these other dimensions, what they're seeing could be so immensely different from what's actually going on, because their visual plane would only be this tiny slither of the reality that they're in.
Yeah, well, as you're saying, I was just thinking about lost time. I mean, a lot of abductees mentioned lost time. Imagine if there was a dimension where time doesn't exist.
Well, that's the fourth dimension, my friend.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty trippy stuff.
It is. Dimension talk is one of my favorite things that I like to do. So it's been a great little conversation so far, my friend.
Oh yeah, I could give one example. So let's say a fish only knows underwater. It only knows going through a thick liquid. It doesn't know what's above the water, or just barely above the water, like air. Like we see into space, but we basically can't go very far into space. And then all of a sudden, a beam comes down and grabs the fish and pulls it out and puts it in a craft, a boat. And the beam is the fishing hook. And, and we're basically the same. We say, oh, we were lifted up by a light and we were put in a craft. A fish doesn't have the words to explain it, and neither do we.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's such a foreign concept.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, Shane, thanks so much for calling in, mate. You've you had some super interesting conversation topics, man. I feel like I could talk your ear off all night if I had the opportunity.
I could see the comments that go a while too.
Yeah,
I couldn't read them all.
Absolutely.
And I'd just like to add, Yowie Dan is out in about less than 6 degrees weather, because I looked at the weather here and he's colder where he is, so he must be freezing up there.
Absolutely, he's a madman, and he was doing it in thongs earlier in the day. He sent me a picture, so I don't know why he does it, but he's a madman.
I've seen that too. He's got him against them hot rocks. I said to him the other week, he had him against metal. I said, "You're going to melt your thongs, mate."
One day. One day.
Yeah. Well, let's hope he gets a result.
Fingers crossed.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, mate. It was great chatting with you.
No worries. I'll see you later.
Too easy. Cheers, mate.
Bye.
That conversation just absolutely it clicked a couple of other things that we didn't get to bring up about the David Grush incident. Is that one was that there is a UFO out there that they reportedly have that has the interior of something the size of a football field, like it is of a warehouse or something like that. They have reality manipulating craft that the outside is a fraction of the size of the interior. If you are getting massive Harry Potter vibes from this, I don't know what to say, because that was the first thing that I thought of when I read that, because it doesn't make sense. Like that's something that is just totally out of this world. No pun intended, but if a technology like that is real and a technology like that exists, and if we're able to replicate it. Not saying that we can. The difference that would have on housing, the difference that would have on cargo and shipping and everything like that is just so astronomical. Homelessness shouldn't exist if that technology is out there. It is criminal that if that technology is real and it is being kept from the human race, it just angers me. It just really does, because there is so much that can be done to help the human race all over the world when it comes to something like that. Another thing that that Shane, our caller, reminded me of is that it's been reported by David Grush himself that there is treaties in place with non-human intelligences. What the hell does that mean? Does this go back to the Eisenhower rumors? I believe it was Eisenhower, who apparently signed a treaty with aliens that they could take X amount of people per year for abductions. I always thought that was a complete fallacy. I always thought that was the most ridiculous claim I've ever heard. But with this coming out from David Grush as a confirmation, essentially, that treaties are in place, gosh, that makes me think, could that have been a possibility? Could that have been a leak of information that was actually true? One thing that also stands out is that, and I don't know if this was Grush that said this, it might have been Lou Elizondo actually, said that there is footage out there on the internet that exists of NHIs and UFOs that people think are fake, but are real. That is shocking to think, because I've seen some bloody insane alien videos. I've seen some bloody insane UFO videos, and oh man, again, is it all disinformation? Is it just someone pulling the rug under us? Who knows? I would love to hear what you guys think about that. Like, leave it in the comments. We've essentially reached the end of the show tonight, and I tell you what, it's been an absolute ripper. We're going to say that the lines are closed. So thank you to Shane, thank you to Yowie Dan for calling in. Let me see if I can get these graphics off the screen. Let me know what you think of the new graphics and everything that you're seeing here. We've got a bit of a multi-camera setup going on here. And let's see if that disappears. Look at that. That is pretty cool, if you ask me. Guys, if you like what you're seeing tonight, this is only going to stay up for another 24 hours. If you're a Believe Plus member, you're going to have access to the audio and the video version, the HD video version, because the software that we use puts a rather soft quality version up on the internet. We are going to put the Super HD version up on our for our Believe Plus members. So if you are a Believe Plus member, you're going to get that. People are saying another hour. You're only on for 20. My timer tells me otherwise, my friend. That was super quick, Cade, too enjoyable. Yeah, I feel like this was a really fun episode. And for those who kind of jumped in late, like I've done a blog post, and I basically did a live reading of that, which I've been sitting on for like the last week and a half. And I wanted to get it out in one way or another. And I feel like the live show was a good way to do that. So I don't know if you're watching, if you're still here from the start, let me know if that's something that you like. And I might do more things like that on our live shows and put out the blog post as well for people to read. Some of you may notice that we've got a bit of a multi-camera set up going. It is we are looking to always add more production value to our live shows. But again, this is not just for me. I am creating something for the Cairns public. So if you want to do something like this, I'm going to offer it to everyone. If you are in the Cairns region, you will be able to come into the Believe podcast studio and start doing your own podcast. I'll be here. I can give you a helping hand or anything like that. And it's going to be a 3-camera setup if you're into that. And essentially, this room is going to get turned into like a Joe Rogan studio. So you'll have a Joe Rogan look to your podcast. So the next time we do one of these, hopefully we'll have our curtains up by then, and it'll kind of dampen the sound a little bit in here. Yeah, this is Dan says Cade is the prodigy son of Art Bell reincarnated. Funny you say that. I started these live shows because I'm a massive Art Bell fan. I rarely get to listen to other podcasts, but I constantly re-listen to the Art Bell radio show. So it's yeah. I absolutely stole the idea from him. So yeah, look, guys, if you are in the Cairns region, you're going to be able to come in here and use this type of studio. This all the same equipment that I use every week for the podcast, and I can teach you all the ropes. So if that's something you're interested in, just keep an eye out for that. Not that I really want to talk too much about work stuff, because this has been the week from hell, month from hell, always is end of financial year. For those who run businesses, you totally know what I'm talking about. But guys, look, it has been a real pleasure hanging out with you all. If you like what you see, please consider becoming a Believe Plus member. You'll get access to, I believe, what's this? Night shift number 56. So, there is 55 other podcast episodes waiting for your ears that isn't available to the public. I'm trying to always constantly put new content up there. You will also get access to ad-free audio, early access to podcasts. Sometimes they're like really, really early, like 1-2 weeks early before for everyone else. But yeah, you don't have to. The podcast is forever going to be free. The live streams are free if you catch them. But one of the biggest things that you can absolutely do to help the show is share it with a friend. Share it with a friend, subscribe to it, give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app listening device service, I guess is the word, because that's a really, really big help too, because the more ratings we have on there and the more comments of if you enjoy the show, that helps people find the show. It helps people want to come on the show and share their encounters. So yeah, I'd love it if you could do that. Doesn't cost you anything. It costs you 5 minutes of your time, and I'm not even going to disclose how long one episode of the podcast takes to do, because it is a really, really long time. So if you appreciate the episodes, consider taking 2 minutes out of your day and doing that. It would really help. But guys, that's going to do it for tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure sitting here chatting about the biggest news story of all time. I wonder if I should hit up Ross to come onto the show and give us his firsthand views of how everything has been going on. I know the guy would be absolutely flat chat at the moment, probably getting bombarded with millions of other podcasts, but who knows, maybe he has a soft spot for another Aussie or local. We'll see. I might try that. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. One thing I do want to say before I kind of wrap up is if you are in the NQ region, highly consider going to the Australian UFO Festival. This is being held in Cardwell, which is this beautiful little coastal town in between Cairns and Townsville. So if you're around that region, consider going there. I'm thinking of going along and maybe doing a panel there, maybe do a live show, something like that. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know, because who knows, maybe we can tee up a bit of a believe meet and greet while we're there. So anyway, that's going to do it for tonight. I'm starting to ramble. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined me tonight. We had a really, really good crowd. Thank you to all the Believe Plus members who support the show. Thank you to all the new ones who have jumped on board in the last couple of weeks. There's been tons of you. So thank you so much. I super appreciate it. And thank you to anyone else who even considers joining. You don't have to, of course. But guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Let's switch the cam, go for the full headshot. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Thank you to everyone in the chat. You guys absolutely lit it up tonight. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, make sure you subscribe, and hit the little notification bell, because that will let you know anytime we go live on the on that platform. You'll get notified straight away, so you'll never ever miss a show, because I saw so many people in the comments saying they missed the first half. If you subscribe and hit that bell, you'll never miss it. But guys, it's an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. I'm going to catch you later. Keep an eye out for the upcoming episodes of the podcast this season. I am still looking for people to share their stories for tales from the voicemail. So please call in and leave your encounters on our voicemail service, or record it on your phone and email it to me. Just get it to me some way, because those are the real gems at an end of a season. So I want some of those. And your stories don't have to be fantastically long, just a couple of minutes. That's the whole point of the tales from the voicemail. But all right, guys, I will catch you on the next live show. It's going to be in a little while. So if you've hung around this long, it's going to be a little while before the next live show happens, probably the second week of July. I'm going away for my first holiday in 4 years. So the first Friday is not going to happen next month. It'll be the second Friday, but that's all right. You guys will totally understand. But I'll see you then. Have a great time. See ya.